quiet, atmospheric tone. Deep in the Thar Desert of Rajasthan sits Kuldhara, a sprawling 13th century settlement. Every day, right at sunset, local authorities enforce a total lockdown and seal the gates. If you walk through the ruins during the day, you will find miles of roofless stone homes and crumbling courtyards. The desert scrub is slowly reclaiming what used to be a massive, organized community. The lockdown exists because of a legend dating back 2 centuries. A curse supposedly hangs over these stones, promising ruin to anyone who attempts to rebuild the village or stay through the night. This combination of government restrictions and local superstition has turned a historical archaeological site into a focal point for paranormal tourism in India. Ghost hunters regularly attempt to document the site's reputation. The most famous investigation was led by the late Gaurav Tiwari and the Indian Paranormal Society, who spent a night inside the ruins. Tiwari's team recorded several anomalies. They reported sudden temperature drops in the desert heat, physical scratching sounds against the stone, and audio of voices whispering at them to leave. When Tiwari died under unexplained circumstances a few years later, Kuldhara's terrifying reputation became a staple of public folklore. But the ghost stories often overshadow a difficult historical question. Kuldhara was the hub of a network of 84 connected villages, yet in a single night, the entire population disappeared. While the hauntings draw the crowds, the real anomaly is the logistical scale of the event. Thousands of people vanishing at once, leaving an entire urban network empty by morning, is an event with few historical parallels. Researchers have tried to explain this through geology. In 2017, scientists from IIT Kharagpur suggested that major earthquakes along regional fault lines or the drying up of the underground aquifer forced the population out. The problem with the earthquake or drought theory is the timeline. Environmental crises and shifting fault lines typically cause a gradual migration over several years. Kuldhara experienced an instantaneous abandonment. The artifacts left behind suggest the villagers were in a hurry. Archaeologists found cooking pots still sitting on unlit stoves and heavy family wealth buried in deep pits beneath the courtyards. The archaeological record indicates that the residents weren't moving because of a slow-moving climate shift. They were fleeing an immediate human threat. The original inhabitants were the Paliwal Brahmins. They weren't just farmers, they were highly educated traders and pioneers in desert engineering. They utilized a technique called kadeen. By designing advanced stone embankments to catch and store scarce rainwater, they were able to grow crops in the desert and amass significant communal wealth. This wealth eventually drew the attention of Salim Singh, the prime minister of the Jaisalmer state. Historical accounts describe him as an extractive ruler who imposed heavy taxes on his subjects to fund his own power. There was a direct conflict between the community-driven wealth of the Brahmins and the unchecked political authority of Salim Singh. The Paliwal's success made them a target. They found themselves under the thumb of a ruler who believed his authority over their lives and property had no limits. The crisis peaked when Salim Singh issued an ultimatum. He demanded the daughter of the village chieftain by the next full moon, or he would march his army into the town to seize her by force. Representatives from all 84 villages met in a secret midnight council. They were forced to choose between submitting the ruler's demands or facing the violence of his army. They chose a path based on Swabhiman, or supreme self-respect. Rather than submit, they decided to walk away from their homes, leaving behind their crops and infrastructure in a coordinated mass exile. In a single night, thousands of people and their livestock packed what they could and moved in absolute silence. They managed to slip past the ruler's network of spies and vanish into the desert undetected. The exodus was a calculated act of resistance. By leaving Kuldhara empty, they denied the ruler the taxes and the prize he was prepared to kill for. When Salim Singh arrived with his army the next morning, he found the village entirely empty. There was no one to fight and no one to rule. The Brahmins left a final curse as they departed, that the land they were forced to abandon would never again support a prosperous life.
By driving out the Paliwal Brahmins, Salim Singh effectively destroyed his own state's economy. The people who understood how to make the desert bloom were gone, and the resulting loss of revenue contributed to his eventual downfall. The outcome wasn't a result of magic. When a ruler forces out the most productive members of their society, the collapse of that society's systems is a predictable consequence. For 200 years, despite various efforts to reoccupy the land, Kuldhara has remained empty. The desert has continued to slowly reclaim the stone walls. The site serves as a physical record of the moment a community's self-respect collided with a ruler's demands. These ruins remain a monument to the 84 villages that decided their values were more important than their property. The empty streets of Kuldhara demonstrate that power doesn't just lie with those who have armies. It also rests with a population that is willing to leave everything behind rather than surrender.